Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chairman McGovern, for your leadership in finally bringing for a vote this resolution on Yemen, and for the terrific people on your team, Don Sisson, and on Speaker Pelosi's team, Keith Stern and Shawanza Golf, on Majority Leader Hoyer's team, who finally allowed for a vote with the work of Keen Bhatt and Gio Saba. Let me explain why this matters. As you alluded to, Mr. Chairman, there are 14 million people in Yemen who currently face the possibility of famine. 14 million. And I was with Martin Griffiths, the special envoy to the United Nations, about 2 weeks ago. And he said if we do not act in the next couple months, that situation will become irreversible. And the explanation for this famine is pretty simple. The gentleman for Texas said we need to get more aid in there, and I respect that, sir, but the problem is that the Saudis have a blockade on Yemen. They're not allowing the aid to get in. And every day we wait, it makes it harder for us to reverse the famine. So the solution is very simple. We need to have the Saudis lift the blockade and let food and medicine get to the people who need it to prevent the largest humanitarian crisis and the largest famine the world has ever seen. Now, the gentleman from Texas said that the administration has already stopped the refueling. And in that, he's actually correct. The administration has stopped the refueling. But the reason they stopped the refueling is precisely because Congress acted, because the Senate passed the War Powers Resolution. And all we're asking to happen now is to codify that policy so that the refueling doesn't begin again. That's why this shouldn't be a partisan issue. The president should want to sign this War Powers Resolution. The gentleman from Texas said, well, what difference will it make if we've already stopped? The difference this will make is sending a clear, unambiguous message to the Saudis that they can no longer continue a policy of intentional cruelty, of trying to have a nation through starvation submit to their will. That's why this is a bipartisan issue. And if we pass this, then that message will be heard by the Saudis. And that's why we had bipartisan support in the Senate and in the House for this resolution. The gentleman from Texas said, well, this is going to hurt our relationships with Israel or other allies. That's just false. That's just false. The amendment, the Buck amendment that was in our resolution, or the amendment that's in the Senate resolution, makes it clear that we still can have intelligence sharing with any ally and does not touch any of our treaties. People often say, why am I so passionate that of all the issues I decided to take up Yemen in my first term? And I'll tell you why. In 1943, there was a famine in West Bengal. 3 million people perished. My grandfather was in jail in 1943 in India when that famine took place. And there was indifference by the British government. They let 3 million people die. As the United States, we should not allow for another famine. And we should do everything in our power as a House to stop it. I yield back.